I have only been out here for 15 minutes. I'm only 150 yards from the car, and already I have seen things that I never thought I would see. I never expected to see while scouting on the State Gamelands. Previous vlog, I mentioned to you how Eric Barnes who was a guest on the Talking with Bunjie podcast, the Death by Bunjie podcast. I sent him a map of one of the State Gamelands that I wanted to scout, and I sent it to him on my phone in the Onyx app. He went on, looked it over, gave me a few spots that he thought I should check out. I'm doing that today. I had intended to do that in the previous vlog, if you saw that. The problem was, I spent the whole day dawdling and looking around and just, like a kid in a candy store, looking at all the different things. And I never got to one of the points that I had intended to check out. So I'm doing that today. I received a lot of comments last week, which I think is totally appropriate, from people saying, hey, here where I live, we're not allowed to go out. We're not allowed to do this. We're not allowed to do that. Check your local regulations, okay? I always say that, but do that. Check that in these times. I'm telling you, this is a weird time. We do have a stay-at-home order in effect for all of Pennsylvania. That includes my beloved home of northeastern Pennsylvania, Bradford County. And technically, we're supposed to be at home, not doing anything unnecessary. It's only life-sustaining, essential activities. Fortunately, our governor, for the time being, this stay-at-home order is in effect until the end of the month of April, but here we are in the first week of April, and our governor has indicated that the pursuit of outdoor activities is an essential activity. They want you outdoors. They want you getting exercise, provided you practice proper social distancing. So obviously don't meet a bunch of your friends and go fishing. Don't meet a bunch of your friends and walk around on the State Gamelands. I have had no company this morning except for a flock of beagles that came through. Do you call them a flock? A gaggle? It's not a murder of beagles, I'm sure of that. So, but it is a bunch of beagles came through, and that was quite an exciting thing. I love dogs. I don't have any presently. Hope to change that in the future, but we don't have any dogs at this time. Beagles I've always loved, but boy, I'll tell you, keeping a handle on those guys, I don't even know if they knew I was there. They were 20 yards from me at one point. They were on some trail and they weren't letting up. What an amazing animal they are. But they were having the time of their lives, I guarantee you. I'm out here practicing social distancing. The beagles did not interfere with that. If I saw the people who are with the beagles, I would politely ask them to keep their distance, because that is the law at this time, and that's really, I don't care if it's the law. That's just the appropriate activity. That's just what I believe is best for Rich Wilson. I believe it is best for the Friends of Bunjie, most likely. I really do think that's a good and important way for the states to handle it. If they want to encourage you to stay home, I think that's great. There's no doubt that will reduce the spread of a virus like this. There's no question. So that's positive, and I think it's something that we should voluntarily do as much as possible. My family and I'm shopping once every 2 weeks. We are not going to the store regularly or anything like that. When I do go, I bring everything home. I immediately take all my clothes off and wash those. I take a shower before I go through the bags. The bags stay outside on our screened-in porch. My wife and daughter go through them. They wear gloves. They wipe everything down with disinfecting wipes before it goes into the fridge, or it sits overnight before it comes into the house and goes into the cupboard. That's the regimen, right? Just like our scent-free regimen, we have these different regimens that we follow. That is my procedure that I will follow for this, and I think it will be productive. I think it will be helpful, and I hope that you have a safe, healthy process in place for you and your family as well. What this means, I got a question here recently about spring gobbler, and I downloaded a few of these questions that I've gotten from Friends of Bunjie, both on the YouTube page and on the Death by Bunjie Facebook page, stuff like that. Outdoor Life 4x4 Lifted comment. And I got to tell you, Outdoor Life 4x4 Lifted. Now that, my friends, is a YouTube channel name. I love that. Are you going to do any turkey hunting Yes, I am, assuming it is legal. I'm kind of keeping my eyes open for scouting for spring gobbler. Spring gobbler takes kind of a backseat to white-tailed deer for me. White-tailed deer is my favorite thing of all. That's just how it is. It's just my choice. But spring gobbler, hunting for spring gobbler, totally on the agenda, assuming it remains legal. At this time, I don't see why it wouldn't remain legal. But assuming that's the case, I shall hunt spring gobbler with Bunjie. Had to change my battery there. That camera's crooked. I feel like I'm sitting like this, and I watch a channel called Camera Conspiracies. I am certain that he does not watch Death by Bunjie, but I like the camera stuff and the filming stuff. But he would ask, is this good content? If I'm sitting like this, is this good content? So hats off to him. We watch a lot more YouTube in this day and age, don't we? Boy, it's good for Death by Bunjie, I'll tell you, but I do want to encourage people to get outside. I'm going to try and put out a lot of extra content during this time, just because a lot of people it's to stay at home. You're at home, you're kind of locked up here, and you need something to do. You need to appreciate the outdoors. We need to not forget that the outdoors is out there, and that it will be out there. It will survive all of this. In fact, with the reduced pressure, it's probably going to be even better when it finally opens up, when we finally get back out there. So you should be excited and optimistic about that. So please keep that in mind. Big problem I've had today is finding those ambush sites, finding the proper tree to put my tree stand in come October. This place, I've mentioned this before, they do a great job of keeping stuff cut down. They timber it off, they save the oak trees. There's not a lot of other stuff left around here. There isn't a lot of cherry, there's not a lot of maple, stuff like that. There's mostly, they keep the mass producing trees. There are some pines, which is great for turkeys like to roost in those maybe. We've got some ash, but again, the ash is all dying. Robert Peck, friend of Bunjie, and I appreciate you, Robert Peck, for your comments on both camera-related stuff and deer stuff. I love it. I enjoyed your video, Rich, and after editing it, and I came up with this conclusion: never ever climb a cherry tree. The bark is so coarse that I could hear you from Massachusetts. He lives in Massachusetts. That's a good point. If you're trying to get in and out quietly, certain trees are going to be louder than others. There's no question a cherry tree and some pines have that flaky bark that's going to make a lot of racket. Other no trees are white and yellow birch and ash. And I can tell you, Robert, boy, you hit it right on. The one time that I took my climber out last year, I tried climbing a really nice yellow birch. They are so hard that it's hard. You don't feel safe. I didn't feel safe going up it. Once I get some more confidence, some more skill, some more practice, I'll feel comfortable on something like that. But right now, those are trees to avoid for me. Ash, 100% a tree to avoid. I have found a whole bunch of really nice ash trees, but I will not be hunting out of an ash tree come October. And the reason for that is these ash trees are all dead because of the ash borer beetle. So we don't have ash trees as a general rule. If I find an ash tree, I'm not going to climb it. Fortunately, I'm familiar enough with ash that I can tell from the bark. I will be coming out here for all of my trees. Before I hunt in October, I'll be walking around in August or September to make sure those trees that I chose, because I'm choosing ambush sites, I'm picking out the specific tree that I will hunt out of. But those trees that I am choosing, I'm going to come back in August or September to verify that they're still alive. Very important. And I'm not even selecting ash trees because I'm going to assume that any big ash tree is dead. This is Robert Peck again. The ideal trees are oak and maple. You may think, oh, there's a really nice white pine tree. Lots of cover in those pine trees. They're very attractive, right? But he makes a very good point. Until the second day when you grasp a hold of your tree stand on the way up, you're going to find that the pitch that came out of that tree is unbearable. So I'm going to avoid those as well. I look for pine trees, okay? I would use those as a backdrop. Look for, if you can find a mature tree, one that's, you'd like to get one that's big around as my trunk, right? As big around as me. But I don't know that they just aren't here. So I'm going to be in a smaller tree, but I'm going to look to use the pine trees as a backdrop because they will give you that darker backdrop. So if I'm tucked in a nice hardwood tree, maple, oak, tucked up against one of those pine trees as a backdrop, then maybe we got something. I want to give a shout out to Greg Patterson. Some great tips here. Rich, I have faith you'll get a nice one on public land this year. Well, I'm glad one of us does. This is an experiment. If I can't pull it off, it does not mean that I'm done hunting on public land. Well, it might, I don't know. But I am committed to it to make it work, and we'll see if it can make it work. As public land crossbow vet myself, I discovered that locating the highest quality food sources, whites, which is white oaks I'm bedding, chinkapins, pins, and reds, including diverse browse along transitions in March and April may be the most efficient way to begin. Then walk the trails from the high-quality food sources back to the bedding area. The trails should be evident. Greg, you are 100% right. I mentioned that in a previous vlog. The trails that I'm looking for this time of the year are the ones that are beat down, where I can see very clearly that there have been deer in and out of here. A lot of deer. Not just recently a deer or two walked through. I'm talking about a well-used corridor. That is what I will be hunting and what I'm looking for. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm marking on my phone. Map it in your app like I'm doing. In late August, early September, find out if the deer are traveling in that area before deciding where to pick a tree or an ambush site. It looks so different come season. That's why I mentioned it. Yep, I agree 100%. Like I mentioned, I will be coming back. We'll be coming back here in August or September to double check, July, August, September, to each of my spots that I picked out. I will come back and refine that list based on what it looks like then. And I will try to climb those trees, verify that I can do it, get a view, right, and see how high up I have to go, how far down I have to go. This is important for refreshing my recollection, my memory about that area. Why did I pick this area? Why am I even here? What tree was I thinking of? I'll go back to those areas, though, climb those trees, and make sure that I still have shooting lanes. If I don't, no point in putting a tree stand in there in October. James Crow asks me, what do you do about ticks? Wow, is that a good, timely question. This is just like the virus, right? What do we do? You have a regimen. You have a certain plan, a procedure that you follow to reduce the risk for you and your family. You can't get rid of the risk because we're human beings and we're susceptible to this, but you can do a lot to reduce that risk for you and other people. So we practice those safe routines. When it comes to ticks, I kind of look at it exactly the same. During these scouting instances, I spray down my boots with bug repellent, insect repellent, bug spray. Spray down real good on my boots and on my pants, and on the bottom of my coat and my sleeves, and around here and around back here, lift up my hood, right there, and then around the collar. That way it prevents those ticks from, it discourages them, doesn't prevent them, but discourages them from sticking to my clothes. I get back to the car, the outer clothes, the coat, jacket, goes right in the back of the car. Boots stay in the back of the car. I put back on my sneakers, get back up front. That way I don't have too much bug spray up front. But then I drive home, and my clothes immediately go into the washing machine, and I immediately take a shower. That's the routine, okay? I do that every time. It is not a 100% fail-safe method of removing ticks and never having another tick. I've had one during all of these scouting episodes, but if I didn't do all of this, I probably would have had 20. So it's important to do. During the hunting seasons now, deer smell real good. On a recent podcast with Dan Ranieri, that is coming out here. Probably by the time you see this video, that podcast will already be released. But he made a good point that if you're discouraging deer in your area while you are hunting spring gobbler, that could also tip off some turkeys, some gobblers. Gobblers can't smell, but if the deer are on edge, that isn't going to help your chances of getting a gobbler in close. And I kind of get that. You could run into situations where that could be a problem, where you could be busted because of the turkeys, right? Because of the deer smelling you. You could be busted on spring gobblers because of the way the deer smelled you. That's possible, okay? That's a real thing. I can't be out there smelling like insect repellent. Even unscented insect repellent is not scent-free. That's a lesson that I've learned over the years. What I do in those cases is I spray my boots and clothes with permethrin at the beginning of the season. That dries, I let it dry overnight. That kills insects. And it kills them if you do it properly. It's safe for humans, yet at the same time, very unsafe for the nervous systems of insects. And I have watched mosquitoes keel over and die right on my knees before. So like just sit there and watch them in a tree stand dying. So you can't beat that stuff. I never had a tick. I will say this. I've never had a tick when I was using permethrin and it was applied properly and it was a fresh batch of it. That wears off. You got to reapply mid-season again. Make sure you practice some safe procedures and practices when you are applying this stuff. But once it dries, it's totally safe for humans, okay? So that's just the way it is. That's not a problem. If you're uncomfortable with that stuff, you're going to, I don't know, figure something else out. But when it comes to ticks and mosquitoes and even chiggers, permethrin is your friend. Or at least it's my friend. So that answers that question. I got a question also about why I'm wearing the orange coat. The orange coat has nothing to do with, and I mentioned this in a previous vlog, it has nothing to do with any rule or anything like that. There's no hunting going on right now that requires me to have orange on. I wear the orange coat right now when I'm out in these state game lands for two reasons. When Genevieve is with me, she feels a lot more comfortable if she kind of knows where I'm at. This is a new, exciting piece of property for both of us. Neither of us have ever been here. On each one of these, when we go out and scouting, that's what scouting is. We're in a new place where we haven't been before. That's exciting. But at the same time, it makes her a little bit nervous, and it sometimes makes me a little bit nervous. I totally get that. I want to know where my kid is, so I have her wear an orange vest. I want her to know where I am, so I wear the orange coat. That way she can see me. We also have the walkie-talkies. That way we can stay in touch as well. The other reason that I wear it even when I'm alone is if something happens to me, I fall and get injured and can't go anywhere, and I'm laying up there, I'm unconscious, or I have a heart attack, or knock on wood, that doesn't happen. Whatever ailment I might suffer, if I'm laying out here, it's real easy to spot a guy laying on the ground in fluorescent orange. So if somebody has to come looking for me whenever I go scouting, I tell my wife where I'm going, very distinct directions, and I really should be texting her a waypoint. That's really what I should do. That wouldn't be a bad idea now that I think about it. But I'm also, I'm out here in orange. If somebody has to come looking for me, they can find me. I'm still hiking. I took a little break down here, sat down and shot some video. I've gotten up, taken a drink of water, and heading back up the hill here, continuing my trail, continuing my trek to get to the waypoint that friend of Bunjie, Eric Barnes, left for me. It's clear up there, though. Can you see that? It's clear up there. I gotta go clear up there. This has been an amazing day, however, out here in the woods. And I gotta tell you, I saw the beagles, right? It has been 35 years probably since I have been around hunting dogs. I can remember my dad and I back with the old Willys Jeep. He had a 1962 Willys Jeep that we hauled firewood in and we plowed snow with it. And I remember one night, sitting in the living room, we could hear dogs just howling down the woods. To see what it was, we got in the old Jeep, went down there, and I can still remember the view of those headlights shining out the old logging road on our property, and all these dogs had treated a raccoon. How cool is that? I just thought it was the greatest thing. It's a memory that's very vivid with me. It has been that long since I have been in the presence of hunting dogs. How cool is that? Now, I don't want to be around hunting dogs when I'm hunting. I'd prefer that they not be here during the archery season, but this is exactly what I'm going to face. This is exactly what's waiting for me in the fall season, the crossbow seasons, when I am out here hunting and other people are sharing this property with me. I am sharing this property with other people. Bunjie and I do not have the entire kingdom to ourselves, but that's okay. We're going to make this work. That's why I'm out here picking out multiple ambush sites, not just one. I'm going to have several ambush sites. When we talk about sharing the property, I never thought that I would also be sharing it with horseback riders. Can you believe that? Walking in, I no sooner got off the road, got off the parking area, started making my way up the hill, and I saw road apples. In this case, logging road apples, I guess you would call them. I just thought that was neat. I thought when I got out of the car, I saw this trail, and I thought, this is the greatest deer trail of all time. Those giant deer footprints that I saw turned out not to be deer footprints after all. They turned out to be horse hooves. This has been a day for new things. I've seen a lot of scrapes on this property, a lot of nice rubs. All right, I mentioned in the previous video that really what I'm looking for here is ambush sites. I'm looking for places that will be good, productive spots for a tree stand, not just going out there, putting up a stand and crossing my fingers, right? Trying to really be more productive. I'm really trying to focus so that I can make a limited number of appearances in the future and make those appearances pay off. That's really what I'm looking for, ambush sites. So I found behind me, really, when I did this, I'm like, let's go look for really good trails and rubs and scrapes and spots, but you kind of have to also be looking for the right trees, and this is probably the only suitable tree right here. I think this is an oak, big old oak, but I can get a tree stand in that, a climber in that. If you look around here, not a lot of suitable tree stand trees. Now, I'm a crossbow hunter, right? I could hunt on the ground if I wanted to, but that's really not the most overall effective manner of hunting, I don't think. I think really being in a tree is a good idea. Here, I've got a trail, nice little trail down below me, 15 yards probably. Won't really know what kind of shooting lanes I have until the summer when the leaves come out, and then I'll climb up in that tree, practice a little bit, do a test run in July or August and see how it works. That'll give me an idea of what October will look like. But in addition, I wanted to point out, up the hill, this trail runs from off the top of the hill. I'm headed up there to scout that, thanks to Eric Barnes. It was one of the points that he shared with me that he suggested I check out, so I'm going to go do that. But it comes off the top of this hill. This trail comes down along this ridge, not really a ridge, but it comes down off the hill here. Because they're coming from an elevated position, my concern is that they'll be at eye level as they're coming off there, even if I'm 20 feet in a tree. So for that reason, I had to find a tree where I can, this will be perfect really, in that I can get up in the air, 20 feet, okay? I'll be facing this way, my back to the deer as they're coming down. Hopefully I can hear them. This all assumes the wind is right. I wouldn't be in here unless the wind is right. But as the deer are making their way down that trail, my back will be to the tree. They won't be able to see me. When they get down here within shooting distance, they'll be right off to my left. I'm right-handed. That should work perfectly. Here those beagles, they're onto something else. Downhill hill, across the road, over the hill, across the dale, whatever. They're having the time of their lives, those dogs are. Found some more garbage. Someone was out here social distancing. A gobble. Next time I come out, I will bring my turkey call with me and just throw a few calls out there and see if I can get some responses. Do you see what some buck did to this poor little sapling? Rubbed it right down to nothing. Somebody ought to do something about that. I think me and Bunjie can do something about that. Well, I'm up in the air pretty good. I don't know if you can see that behind me, but it drops off. I walked all the way up here to the top of this point. It was what Eric Barnes marked for me. I'm not sure whether he marked that for me so that I would find some deer sign, or whether he marked it for me so that I would have to walk all the way up here and get out of breath and get some exercise. Either way, I appreciate the help from Eric Barnes, Talking with Bunjie podcast. Check out that. I'll try and leave a link to that in the notes if you're interested. He really gave me some great tips. I've got other friends of Bunjie giving me great tips as well, and I really do appreciate it, of course. I am going to keep putting those tips to the test, keep scouting as long as I am able, and keep updating you as well. Stay healthy, you friends of Bunjie. Until next time, all hail Bunjie!